everybody. Welcome back to episode 17 of the Brushback Baseball podcast with Tyler Rami Ramatula, who I didn't know had that nickname until now, and David Klein. And as you can see, we lasted one episode with just the two of us before we had to bring somebody else on. So today, why don't you go ahead and introduce our new guest, Tyler?
Yeah, so this is one of my longtime buddies. This is Stevie Rodriguez. He and I played together at UCLA. We were the same grade, so we were there from 09 through 11. And then Stevie went in after playing his years in the minor leagues. He coached for several years at UCLA, and then just this past year he's now moved on and is now with the Stanford Cardinal. So welcome, Stevie. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. I can't believe no one knows your nickname, Rami. You're saved. You've been saved in my phone for 15 years as Rami. That's it.
Well, now the world knows. So
perfect.
Should I just change my name now?
It's a lot easier to call you Rami than to figure out where the H goes in your last name.
That's what, you know.
That took me like a year and a half.
I still don't know. I was
going to say, we still have close friends that do not know where to put the H in my last name. So
I think it goes second after the A, R-A-H.
After the A, thank you.
Perfect. There you go.
I think I had two H's in there. I think I had an H at the end of the name too for like a good year or two.
See, yep. There's no H at the end, contrary to popular belief. But that's all right. But so Stevie, how's life at Stanford? I know that you're obviously quarantined as well. So what are you doing with your time, and how's Palo Alto?
Life at Stanford's been pretty good. We had a young team last year, and unfortunately the season ended early, just like everyone else's, which is a bummer because we want to see a lot of our young guys get some action and see how they progress. Right now, going a little crazy, just trying to do some workouts here and there, some walks around the neighborhood. The good thing is I'm new to the neighborhood, so everything's new every time I take a walk and take a different street. So hopefully that stays. Yeah, hopefully it stays new, because if things start getting old, that means we've been in quarantine way too long. But recently we've started connecting with the team more and more via Zoom. Like Zoom's the new thing. Zoom or Skype is a new thing to communicate with people now. But just filling my days with that and little projects here and there, trying to get the guys better when we finally can get back to campus, and hopefully that starts soon. But that's about it.
What's it like? Are you guys having mandatory weekly check-in meetings? Are they do they have a workout regimen that they kind of? Because I know that when I've talked about on this podcast before is that obviously college baseball is completely way more structured than professional. So are you guys kind of really looking after and making sure these guys stay in shape? Or I guess you can't really make sure that they're hitting right now or anything, but just at least staying in shape.
Well, right now, the NCAA is always wanting to regulate things, so we're not allowed to have them give us feedback on what they're doing and things like that. So when we check in, it's really just checking in how they're doing, class going okay, staying healthy. We'll talk a little bit about just baseball, just the game and how the season was and how they're doing and what they want to improve on. And we have most of the time it's just a big team setting where it's 40 guys and the coaching staff. And then this week we decided to go smaller groups just so you get a little more dialogue from the guys to really get a feel of how they're doing.
Yeah.
The rules are pretty strict even now. You know about the college rules, but in Zoom and we can't give any instruction at all. So it's really just checking in, kind of like we're doing right now, just talking the game a little bit, where their heads are, and we just try and figure out what they can do day to day. If there's a way we can help based on where they're located. And being at Stanford, it's different than UCLA. Almost everyone was from California at UCLA. At Stanford, you got guys all across the country. So some guys are from Georgia, and they're able to go to their high school field and do whatever they want and go to the workout facility they would go to. And then all of our guys in California kind of just lifting dry cement bags for doing squats and hitting off a tee in a garage. It's all so everyone's different, but we just try and check in with them just to touch base so they can touch the game at least once a week with us.
Why won't NCAA let you guys give them instruction? What is that?
It's they want everything to be an even playing field in terms of, because from what I understand, in terms of different locations, guys can do different things. So if they limit what we can do, that means schools in Georgia have to be able to do the same thing. Schools in Florida, the same thing.
Real even playing field.
Yeah, make it all even. Unfortunately, but that's just the way it's structured, and we're only allowed to. No one's going over it, but you're only allowed to meet with them 8 hours a week during this time period.
Okay.
That's so weird because the whole season's canceled. So it's not like you're getting a leg up on Georgia. Everybody's going to be coming in, semi out of shape for the most part next year. And
that's the thing. I mean, that's the hard part. You would like to have more and be able to do more, but that's just the way the NCAA. It's a lot easier for them to do that. It makes sense. Do we like it? No, but it does make sense. But it's hard too. You look at guys like when we have our little meetings, virtual meetings, you can see the guys that are in the tough spots like Washington or California. Some of them look a little bit smaller than when they left school, so you know that they're struggling to get some work in.
God, I wish I had that problem. I wish it was if I stopped working out smaller.
Yeah, don't you? Yeah, that's what I tell them. I said I had to start running just so I didn't blow up. Once you get past that 25 age mark, you're in trouble.
That's right. How did you guys? I followed UCLA really closely, just at the beginning part of the season. How did you guys start off? I didn't see.
We started off not very good. Again, like we were young, inexperienced. So our older guys hadn't really played before consistently.
Where were you guys ranked? You guys were
we started the year at 18.
18, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys had 3 rookies in your starting. I was looking at the.
By the end of the year, we had 3 freshmen start the last weekend. Yeah. We tried to do an open because we had an injury on our staff of one of our best pitchers, or two of our best pitchers were hurt, which doesn't help. And then we tried to maximize innings and figure it out a little bit. We used an opener. So one of our starters was an opener, and it was a freshman righty that did really well in the role. So with youth and injuries, you figure out, because next year we know we can rely on him now. Maybe if we had a full strength and experienced team, we wouldn't know we'd get out of that guy. So we learned a lot.
You guys made the Super Regionals last year too, right?
Yeah. I was last year. So I was at UCLA last year in 2019. And in 2019, when we played Stanford, it was 1 versus 2. And Stanford,
I remember that.
The only series Stanford lost in 2019 was to UCLA. So they won every single series. So
at Stanford, right?
Yeah, at Stanford. So they were deep the year before with position player wise. They had a lot of guys drafted. So coming back in, they knew there was going to be some inexperience and some youth.
How's the transition been going to Stanford? Obviously, it was a great promotion for you to go and take that job, but I imagine it's probably a little weird too, like just being a Bruin and then going to coach for Stanford.
It was tough.
I mean, just really after you're spending like your playing career at UCLA, then coaching under Savage, and everything's super familiar, and then this is basically your first time not kind of out there.
Yeah, it was really hard to leave, and then the transition was different because there's different ways to win, and Stanford, the staff at Stanford's won since they've been at Stanford a lot, and so I learned a lot of things, and then I brought over some things from my time with Coach Savage that I thought would help, and it was a good balance. I think we're on the right track with that. The hard part was them not accepting me, but giving me a hard time about being a Bruin because they
I
know
imagine so.
yeah. It helps that I went there and played there and we were good when we were there. So they understand
Right.
like there's a pride factor to it. But you have to like prove yourself a little bit to the Stanford guy that, hey, I'm all Cardinal now, you know? And the UCLA guys give me the hardest time too. I'm in a group chat with a lot of the UCLA guys that were a little bit younger than us, Rami, and they changed the chat name to Bruins plus Steve. So I get that a lot, but it's all in good fun. I know they know I love UCLA and I support them, but just not to be better than Stanford now. So
We we haggled you a little bit too in our group message too.
yeah,
Gerrit kind of got laid into you a little bit.
yeah, but I got him back a little bit pretty good on that one.
Times passed.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was really looking forward to Stanford coming down and playing UCLA this year. I was obviously with everything being canceled, I was super bummed because we penciled that in. Like we were like we're going up to LA for that for sure. But and it was
a lot of people did. We were excited. I texted Nico saying that we should have been playing last weekend.
Was it last weekend?
It was last weekend, yeah. 1st of May, I think.
It's funny because Clarissa had put into our calendar on our phones, our joint one. We put that in there a while ago, and then like as soon as everything got shut down, she deleted it all. I remember seeing her take it off. I was like, oh man, like that kind of killed me.
Yeah, it was a bummer. It would have been good. That would have been weird to be in the other dugout. That's when it would have really hit me. Being in the other dugout, looking at Coach Savage give his signs, me knowing exactly what he's going to do, but not being able to say anything.
You'd have to change up his signs completely for
That's the thing I was giving them a hard time about is they'd be so paranoid that I would know the signs and everything that they would change it up. Just because being a catcher, like I had to know. The only thing I don't know at UCLA is what you guys did up the middle. That's the only. I had to learn way too many things to know, Rami, what you guys were giving up the middle as far as looks and picks. So I still don't know what you guys do with that, but everything else I know pretty much.
No, you needed to know one.
Which one?
Remember? Well, this was a long time ago. Remember the one where you would? No, that was a bump play. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Scratch that.
If there's anything that I know about Tyler off the baseball field, that if it translated to on the field, it was probably that there wasn't much of a plan to begin with, anyways.
At the plate, there was. At the plate, there was.
No, it was. We always give Rami a hard time because he worked hard, but it was really like he can go in there and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go 3 for 4 today, and he would go 3 for 4. You know, we had a home run derby might have been a little over a year ago now, and this is before Tyler started getting back into.
This was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, back into better shape. So his first dad bod, his first round of dad bod. And he was out there, and we were hitting, and Nico and myself were working the UCLA camps in the summer, and
we'd go up there for a day.
We had been practicing home run derbies and doing it, so we were good. And Tyler goes in there, we're throwing to him, and he kicks our ass in the home run derby, and we're like, typical Rami, just showing up, same stance, that easy. He's going like dead center, and we couldn't believe it.
Dude, the good thing is that I will say both of you and Nico throw the best BP. Ever.
A lot of practice. That's
for
sure.
Love hitting off of you guys. I don't know. What was your favorite memory back in any of our days at UCLA?
I loved the dorms, man. When we I loved. Don't get me wrong. Like I love playing and us going to Omaha. Like Omaha's the top one. Like that. Omaha's the best, but. Us hanging out in the dorms all the time, how we moved out the normal couches they had, and Dodo got us those leather couches for us. We just put them in there. Nico,
Dodo's my grandma, by the way, for everybody listening.
Nico staying on our couch, even though he lived somewhere else.
So this was it was called, our group message is called Hitch A12, and it's everybody who lived in our dorm. Mind you, it's for 4 people. It was actually I actually lived in there was Stevie, myself, Gerrit, and Chase Brewer.
Cool.
So that was us four. But then we had Nico, who was a year older than us, but he forgot to sign up for like the registration to get the dorm room. So he got stuck with like these random people, and he hated being there. So he just lived with us and slept on the couch. And then we had another guy, Tyler Smith, who was our manager. But he kind of was with some random people as well, but he was more comfortable with all of us. So he basically stayed at our place almost half the time or something. So we had like 6 guys in there, but yeah, that was awesome.
And it was in the perfect spot because it was right in the corner, and it was on the bottom, like the first floor. So you didn't have to take stairs, and you had to pass it. If you're coming from the parking lot that was right by the dorms, you had to pass our dorm to get to everyone else's dorms. So we just had open door policy, open window. So we just hang out there, and everyone would say hi, come in, stop by. So it was fun. To me, that was the best time, the best memory, I think.
Yeah, I just miss the camaraderie and just the shenanigans of. I mean, you're on play or you play on teams afterwards, like with the minor leagues, and yeah, you have camaraderie with the guys in the dugout and the locker room. But there's something about college that, like, I don't know, when you're stuck with these guys for as much time as we really put together, and how hard it was, and the mentality, and how much you grinded. I mean, like, you guys are still my best friends to this day. All of everybody in Hitch are like my best friends. I don't think anything will ever really change that. I feel like, it's been 10 years now, and
yeah,
we're still my best friends. So
I'm sad now. I don't know why I'm on here.
You haven't put in your time yet, David.
I know. It's got to be, though. I think that with I was in a fraternity. I was never athletic, and I think there are some guys that you pair on because the personalities hit too completely. You just all fit. So I mean, it probably sounds like you guys just all fit pretty well too.
Yeah,
and we knew each other. That's how that's. And you see it more now as a college coach, is the recruiting wise how important it is. We all knew each other for so long. Like Rami and I played against each other from when we were 11 years old through travel ball.
Yeah, tell them the story, Stevie.
Yeah, so we were Tyler.
You're on the Land Sharks.
No, it was the South Bay. I was on the South Bay Sharks. He was on the Quakes.
Sharks.
And we were playing in Orange County, and I was catching, and Rami was the man child. So you go out there, and how Tyler looked in college is how he looked, but maybe 4 inches shorter at 11 years old. And he was just throwing harder than everyone, hitting better than everyone. Every time he got up, it was a home run. And the one time he didn't hit a home run, we walked him. And he was fast. So he's on first base. And I'm just thinking he's going to steal because he just does whatever he wants because he's the best player out here by far because he's a man.
Back when he used to go whenever.
And he's taking his lead at first. I know he's going to go. And I'm like, I'm just going to throw this ball as hard as I can to second base. That's all. It's the only way I get it. So he steals. He's like, I thought as hard as he's safe by a mile. He's popping up on his slide as the ball's coming in, and it squares right in the back. Now the throw was money. Like, it was a perfect throw. Right. Way late, but as firm as I could throw it, and right in his back. And you just see him do like a spider, just collapse. And then he starts crying. He starts crying, and I remember thinking, like, dang, I got the man-child to cry. I'm the man. And then he comes up, the next at bat hits a home run. He's all pissed.
Dude, I remember that game specifically, but I remember you were a chatterbox back there.
Yeah, I was nervous. You were really good. So how I handle nerve, you talked the game. Coach Purse.
Yeah, Coach Purse. Probably he was our coach at UCLA, one of our assistant coaches.
Who was the coach that you had on the? Who was the coach you had on the Quakes that you and Krill were talking about?
John.
What was that guy?
John Elliott. He still runs Quake baseball.
Yeah, that's not what you said. What was it? He talks like a. I don't remember.
He was really rough around the edges.
Yeah,
with the kids. Yeah, you probably remember just playing against it or seeing that against it. He was pretty intimidating, but he got the best out of us. But hey, like I didn't say this,
good.
but Stevie, yeah, we were pretty good. But Stevie could vouch for this. It was probably a good preparation for having to deal with Coach Vanderhook later on when we were at UCLA. He was
Coach Vanderhook was a different breed for sure.
He was a tough coach, and he really challenged us mentally for sure. But I will say to this day, it was like I didn't hate him, but I hated some of the things he made us do. But it made me a better player and a better person, I think, for it.
He was the best, and I'll say this to this day because we coached against him this year, and when guys don't like him, like when they really don't like him, that means they just don't like honesty, because he's very honest with you, when you're good and when you're bad.
Yeah.
So if you can handle honesty, brutal honesty, it's brutal, but if you can handle honesty and be a good self-evaluator, you love him because he does acknowledge you when you do well, but he lets you know when you're not as good as you think you are, and doesn't let teams lose, which is awesome. I think it's exactly what we needed.
It was
back then. We had a bunch of talented guys that didn't hate losing yet, and he made us hate losing, and he made us be better than we thought we could be. And then having Coach Savage, who's a perfectionist, there as well, was a perfect combo, I think, for that time.
I look back, and that coaching staff was amazing with Savage, for the pitchers. I mean, obviously he's a mastermind in college baseball. Vanderhook established the mentality, made us tougher, gave us the winning, kind of that winning attitude and philosophy that Fullerton had for so long. We kind of adopted that. And then Coach Purse, who was just like the most knowledgeable baseball person I think I've ever been around. One of the most. That coaching staff was unreal for exactly what we needed. But I say that they put us in situations in practice, and you guys probably still do this now, but I remember the situations in practice made the games easier. Like I remember things we were tested so hard during practice that when we got to the game, it's like we've been here before. This is easy.
And that is the hard part. You can't do it as often as they did it. I don't think they crushed us pretty good. But
you remember my 21st birthday?
Oh, absolutely. I remember that. I'll never forget that. But now it's the hard part in coaching is you have to make practice almost harder than game and make it faster. And it's tough because if you don't have the right culture or the right players or the right player, they just quit, and that's the last thing you want to see. And it's a different dynamic. I know how guys are coached younger now too. They're not challenged a lot when they're younger. So the first time they get challenged a lot of times is when they get to us. And the first time we really ever see failure is when they get to us, and honesty. And some of them don't know how to handle it. Some of them learn how to handle it, and some of them never get good at handling it.
I think that was the first time I did that. My freshman year was a wreck.
I was mentioning this year because Tyler was a manager and I was one of the assistant coaches before everything cut out. But we were finally at an age where these kids would actually get failure and strike out, and seeing how these kids actually do that for the first time was really like great insight into their personalities and stuff. You see it at a very basic level, and most of them would cry right away or pout. I don't know if you've been sent video of Tyler's son Carter, but that's probably the only exception. But because he never failed, he basically, I guess what you say you saw of Tyler as a kid, that's gone down generation.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, and he's a year younger too than most other kids that he's playing against at this age.
Yeah, it's weird though. Like you said, it's interesting to see this is the first age group where kids are starting to deal some failure. Some kids are crying, and you gotta learn to it. But I saw some post somewhere. It was like nowadays, like kids, the first sign of failure, the first sign that they're not the starting shortstop or the starting or whatever on their team, their dad goes and makes a team or starts a travel ball team or something for them to be that thing. So it's like you get to that level, like you get to a high school or something like that, and you've never really been put in that position to fail or not make a team or something like that. And kids are just a little bit. Some kids, more kids, are a little softer nowadays. I don't know. I've been hearing that.
And it's you know what? I don't think it's the kids' fault too much. I think it's travel balls run so much, and it's not enough. I love travel ball. I love baseball. I love how much they can play and the opportunities that they have. But it's so much now that they don't. It's become a business that you're afraid to lose the kids, so you're not going to have any chance to push them away. You're not going to risk it at all. So they never really get pushed like that. Where it wasn't back in the day. There wasn't 15 teams. There was 5, and you had to drive 2 hours every weekend to go play one of the 5 teams. And if you don't like how the team was doing it, you go play for not a very good team locally, and then they had plenty of people that wanted to play on that team. And I think for the most part, when kids get challenged, if they can be challenged and there's supported the right way by the coaching staff and the parents to handle it the right way, that's the best, obviously. But I can see why travel ball coaches nowadays are afraid to do that, because kids will just up and leave because they have so many options, which is tough because that is a business for a lot of people.
What is it like for you when you kind of get some incoming freshmen I was the same way that I was just mentioning, like they don't handle, or this is the first taste of adversity that they've ever seen, at the college level. Because I think you were our opening day catcher, starting catcher as a freshman, right? And I was opening day as a freshman third baseman. I was no way ready for it, even going through I just wasn't there mentally,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if you, and I learned that this year. Like you don't want to be in a position where you rely on freshmen to be the guys, just because they're mentally and just they're not ready. They're still learning the game. They're still learning competition. They're playing against true grown men. Guys that can go out to bars after a game and start having families now. But it's just different, and I was nowhere near ready as a freshman to play right away. But certain guys are put in those positions because just how things work out, and eventually they're going to be a dude. They're going to be that guy. Maybe it's later on in that year. Yeah. That's where the culture of the program and the leadership and the upperclassmen really, really takes shape, because you want to rely on the sophomores and juniors and seniors, and then let the freshmen learn who they are through failure without having to feel too much pressure that they need to carry the team. And then when they find success and what makes them successful, they can start to develop. If they're one of those Tyler Ramatula, Gerrit Coles type guys, Bo Amaril's, Jeff Jelich's type guys, and eventually as they go, they know what to do when they do fail and how to get back on track. But you don't want them to have to carry the team from the get-go. That's unfair to them, just because they don't know what the college game is yet, truly.
Yeah, well, think about what you just said. You were handling a pitching staff as a freshman catcher, coming straight out of high school, and handling, for everybody that's listening that doesn't know Stevie's resume, when we played together at UCLA, he was the catcher for Gerrit Cole, Trevor Bauer, Rob Rasmussen, Matt Grace, Eric Goodell. Who else did I miss that was in the big leagues from that?
Gavin Brooks was a top prospect. He was our closer.
Dan Klein. Who was the really tall guy? That was like
Mitch Beacom. Mitch
Beacom. Yeah.
I mean, but you came in and like, there's one thing to come in as a pitch, but catchers just have to have you have to have an extra, an it factor. You have to have, I think, something extra to come in and do that as a freshman.
And it helps when there's limited options, and I'm one of 2 or 3 guys,
But you did it well.
I had to learn a lot, for sure. That's why I think I always look back, and I think Coach Savage and Hookie and Coach Purse were really hard on me, because they knew I would have to be that, And when you're young, and it's funny, it's I talk to my dad about this a lot, because you hate your dad at certain times because they're always on you and things like that. But then you can remember when your dad was when my dad was my age than I am now, you're like, wow, if I had a kid that was 10 years old like he did, I would definitely probably be like, react like that. Or you get older, like now I'm a coach, and you look at a player and you're like, wow, I was exactly like that guy, and I was bad. And you try not to tell him, like, don't do that. You don't want to react. I'm doing this to get you better. But
you probably noticed that with some of your players too.
Oh, totally. Like, and it makes me, I get embarrassed sometimes just because I know, like, a guy does something like, I hate that. And then you realize I did that exact thing, and I'm so embarrassed that I just did that. But it's also helps too when you have certain situations. Like, every time I have a young catcher, and they miss a ball and they're just rattled. They're rattled like, oh man, I just screwed up. It's an easy ball to block or catch, or I miss it. Coach is pissed. Pitching coach is mad. I say it could always be worse, because I missed a ball in the national championship game that got the game-winning run to second in scoring position. And I always tell them that story. It's like, hey, it could be worse. You could be doing that in Omaha, and then the next hit scores a run to win the national championship.
That was the one? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
That was the one. And I don't know, they always like look at me like, did that really happen? I said, oh yeah. I said, I'm still living. I'm okay. I go now if that was game 3 and not game 2, it would be a lot heavier, but it was game 2. We already lost game 1, so it's a little less. We were down. So, but it always helped, like things like that, experiences and failure. I've learned that it's not life or death, and it helps them out a little bit to relate to you and the game. They like to know that, and I always tell them that I'll never forget how hard the game is. It's a hard game, and they like to know that you recognize how hard it is. And a lot of times they hate it too, because you know how hard they make it when it shouldn't be as hard as they make it. So you can call them out on that as well.
That's a good point. As a player, you kind of like having the coaches recognize that that it's hard. It's always kind of like okay, all right, yeah, this is a really hard game. Baseball is especially hard. There's so much going on.
Like, you never want to accept failure, and you never want to like accept losing ever. But you can understand when you face a pitcher that's throwing 94, 96, and all of his pitches are on, and he's getting the call 6 inches off the plate. Like, as you're watching that game and how baseball works, like that's not an easy day to hit. He's throwing backwards changeups. He's getting every call. His slider's on. He's throwing it for a strike and in the dirt. Like, you just know you can't expect your team to score 6 runs that game.
I remember Hookie would like sometimes be like, look, sometimes you just got to tip your hat back and like walk back to and just be like, or Purse would say, I'm gonna fucking get you next, fucking get you next time. But like, you got me right now. But yeah, there's that always kind of made me get like excited, because sometimes when you're in that moment and you're dealing with that, like you almost feel like there's no slack or any wiggle room to fail. You don't want to give. I don't know. Just hearing that from the coaches always kind of eased me a little bit.
Do you kind of look back at, because you were behind the plate for Gerrit and Trevor and Rasmus, and how easy baseball was at that point, because you had guys who were just so dominant with it.
No. That was easy for me at second base. I didn't have to move very much.
Well, in terms of being in the game and stuff, you got to look back and go, you had it pretty good. I mean, baseball's usually not that easy.
Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, the hard part. It was fun because of how competitive all 3 of those guys were. Like, that's the fun part. It was hard in the sense that they're not used to failing. And anytime there was kind of failure, how do I get them to get back on track? Because, and I don't care what anyone says, pitchers can be fragile. And it's not an easy position to play, because you're by yourself on that mound. You control everything. And when you're doing good, you're the man. And when you're not doing good, you're exposed. You can't hide. So that was the hard part. And those guys are very different guys. And Coach Savage is really good at deflecting their failures onto me a little bit because he knew I could handle it, and he knew that I took pride in if they weren't doing good and if they did well. But there were times where he got on them when they needed to get in trouble, and I think a lot of times he would get on me for them to get right, because if they're good teammates and they'd be like, damn, I'm the one sucking and Stevie's getting yelled at, so I need to clean it up. I think now that I look back at it, hopefully that was his strategy a little bit sometimes, because sometimes I'd be like, I don't know what I did. I just threw my fingers down, they threw the pitch, and it was a home run. I didn't know. Sorry, I don't know. But no, it was
Stevie.
What's that? Oh, I know, Coach. Yeah. Nightmares hearing that voice. But it was the fun part was how competitive they were. Like it wasn't good enough just to win. They wanted to embarrass every team they played.
Right.
And they did a lot of times.
That was a fun year, 2010, man. They were all of them were just lights out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's something I wanted to ask you, or I've never really gained this perspective, but what is it like, and I figure you're a perfect person to ask, is it like creating like a relationship with umpires, and then also doing that as a coach now? Like, obviously catchers, you're standing there back there with the umpires, and I had a different relationship with the umpires that, when they'd be rotating out in the field and talking to them, but what was it like behind the plate? I've never really asked the catcher that.
You know what? It was you had to be their friend a lot, just because the pitcher's not going to be friendly. They're going to body language, and you just be like, don't worry, I'll let him know. He can't tell. He's just throwing the pitch. He can't see it. He's just frustrated. Or like when coach is getting mad, I'm like, don't worry, I'll let him know like what the real thing's going on. Don't just that's what he's doing. And then a lot of times I would always, and most umpires are professional, so they're all pretty cool. They would ask like, did you have that there? And a lot of times my response was, hey, if you call that on me, I want to be mad. Like I could see you calling that. So I was a sacrificial lamb a lot of times. And then there were times where, and it's really, and I tell pitchers this too, if they earn a pitch, if they've been dialed in, living in certain locations and being consistent with where they're throwing the ball, and they don't get a call, I would tell the umpire like, hey, he's earned that today. Like he needs to get that call. Yeah. And I would tell pitchers too that if you're erratic, and then you spot up on a borderline pitch and you want that call, haven't earned that call. You don't deserve that call. So you got to be honest with the pitcher too. But with umpires, they want to do a good job too. A lot of people think they just want to suck, and the ones that
it's a tough job,
and the ones that are bad, and people don't realize, like they know they're bad, like they know they're doing bad that game, and it's so fast for them, just like it's fast for us at the plate. Just like like. I am not seeing the slider today. I have no shot of hitting it when he throws it. Like they know they're not seeing that pitch, and they're praying to God the pitcher doesn't keep throwing that location, because it's a coin flip for them. Yeah. And it gets fast for them too. And you just kind of it's kind of a mental game for them. Like, hey, you're all right. You got it. You got to get the next one. Like that. Or you just kind of call it for them. Say, hey, you missed that one. Or hey, that was a good one right there. That's where it's at.
Do you ever change up your game plan based on the umpire? And some umpires have really low zones in a game, like mid game, and some umpires maybe really outside. Do you kind of like pay attention to that and change up what you're going to call in your sequence?
Yes and no. It depends. If it plays to what the pitcher's strength is, absolutely. Like if the guy has a low zone and our guy's a sinker ball guy, you for sure exploit it as much as you can. The big one is knowing how much they give with 2 strikes, because umpires love ringing guys up. That's one thing they do love. If they're giving an extra ball off with 2 strikes, you can change how you're set up. You don't want to let the pitcher know, but you let them know through like how you set up and how you move off the plate. And you can just keep exploiting that spot more and more and more. So you do change your game plan as far as going for the strikeout, I think, a little bit more. But offensively, for sure. Like I would tell guys too that, because if an umpire is calling a low pitch all the time and it's a ball, everyone thinks it's a ball. He's not going to stop calling it. He's going to keep calling it. Instead of complaining, move up in the box and make that pitch higher. Because a lot of guys, and it's normal. We all did it. A lot of guys want to go and they just want to complain. Like, that's not a strike. That's not a strike. And it's like, well, it is a strike because he's calling it a strike. So you either keep striking out or keep putting yourself in bad counts, or you do something about it to hit it.
Yeah, because he's still calling it.
Yeah.
The way he's calling it.
That's a good point. Is that you, David?
It's my son's thing.
Wow.
I keep a professional over in this house.
This is like his third or fourth time doing that.
Yeah. I got mine on mute finally, but I didn't get his in time. So.
Oh, that's right.
I'm blaming my child.
That's okay. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Perfect. Point the finger. If I had a kid to point the finger at, I for sure would point the finger at my kid all the time.
It's so much easier to go through life like that.
Yeah. 100%.
So what was it like to, Savage now is kind of a legend, won a College World Series, been there for enough time, 15 years. And Stanford had Marquez, right, for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And then you went and followed in to Esker, right?
Yeah.
Who's a brand new coach. How has that kind of changed? Going from somebody who was so established to kind of to somebody who's molding themselves out now and making their own footprint.
It's different. Coach Esker's he was at Cal for a long time as a head coach. Right. And then, but the thing is being at Stanford, it's kind of, it was a really good hire for Stanford. And I don't mean to say that just because he's my boss, but just because he played for 9, who's Marquez. He played for 9. And so he understands the tradition of Stanford. He won a national championship there for 9. That's what they call him, 9, because it was a number. And so he has all the alumni connections, and he knows what the alumni base want. He knows what it's like to be on a team, because Stanford's it's a different setup than UCLA. I don't know how to explain it. It's a brotherhood kind of thing. They really take pride in being really, really close, like 1 through 35. UCLA could have been. They do a good job of being a good team, like a team, but it's.
Go ahead.
But Stanford, it's a brotherhood, and that's how the university is too. It's population-wise, it's a smaller university, student body-wise, undergrad, and and I don't know. I think he does a really good job of knowing what the Stanford player wants and looks for, and not only in baseball but just in life and how they approach school. And that was different for me. I'm not used to. And also I've never been anywhere else. I'm not used to Stanford traditions here. Stanford tradition here. The rivalries are different. How they kept they changed. Stanford changed their logos and their script, but baseball was allowed to keep the old script for certain things because it's such a tradition for baseball to have that. But things like that, which is it's really cool to see. It's big time, and Coach Esker is really good. And I know he wants to. He's doing his. He makes his own footprint too, other than 9, because 9 was pretty strict. And part of what Coach Esker does is he empowers the player a little bit more. So like when 9 was there, you had to shave, you had to wear pants to a certain length, every single person, not up, but like high,
like mids, right?
Yeah, mids. Yeah. Cleats had to be a certain way. You only got one thing for practice, one thing for the game. Like, it was very regimented, even more so than it was for us at UCLA, Rami. But Esky likes to empower the player. He really believes in that, and at first it took a lot of the older Stanford guys back a little bit, but it kind of, you get a Stanford guy who's already motivated, like they have to get into the school, which by taking, like, if you're a senior, you have to take 4 or 5 AP classes. Like they want to see that on your admission.
I don't know if you knew this, but I grew up wanting to go to Stanford. That was my school that I grew up going to the Stanford camps. Like that was the school I wanted to go play baseball for.
Wow.
And I had good grades out of high school.
Rami.
No, I did. But
how many AP classes did you take in high school?
Not enough. Okay. But
well, enough for UCLA. That's no small feat.
I had to when 9 was there. When I talked to him on the phone, it was like I had to get a certain amount on the. I really like. He was like, I need you to get this score on the SAT or the ACT, whatever it was, and I fell short the first time, and I had a chance to retake it. Went back to retake it the other time, and I fell just short. Like I was really on the fringe. I don't remember what the exact score was, but I remember I was super close, and they just still said, "No, I'm sorry." It fell short of the standard.
Yeah, they're competitive in that sense. So you get, if you get guys like that constantly have to get the good grades and be competitive, and then you just kind of free them up a little bit, it turns out pretty good so far. And I think it will continue too.
Some pretty high IQ guys there.
Yes.
You see that like with translates to the baseball field. It can translate to the baseball field too,
Yes, and it's like that across the board. UCLA gets really smart guys too. It's hard because there's so much information out there now. You go on Twitter, you can find a million different things. You go on Instagram, you can find a million different things. Google anything, and when you get the smart guys, sometimes they're too smart for their own good, and they try to apply all these different things when, hey, you're a Division I athlete at UCLA or Stanford. You do these naturally. Like the things that you're seeing on Twitter, like your body and everything does naturally. You just need to, refine a couple things, and that's what you need to do. And they're like, well, I can do this more and more. I go, and sometimes you have to, and that's where I've learned here, and I'm learning as a coach year by year, but here, a lot of the information I dial up, or a lot of the numbers I dive into, a lot of scouting I dive into, it's kind of to sell them like, hey, this is why we're doing this. It's more of a sales pitch than anything. Like you think you're doing this, but this is what you're really doing. And that's where the analytics really helps a lot, because they'll say, this feels good, that feels good, this feels good. And then you can bring it up like, well, when you do something that you think is uncomfortable, you're actually getting better numbers here. So what you're comfortable is doesn't mean it's good, kind of thing. And normally the numbers and the tools that we use and everything, it just backs up what your eyes see. That's one thing I've noticed too, that it puts it in data form, but it also tells you what your eyes see. And a lot of times, sometimes too, it's like when you're trying to fix a problem, your eyes may trick you, and you're like, I think it's that, and then the numbers can tell you, well, it's not really that, it's this that you really wouldn't have looked at, which helps. But sometimes the Stanford guys, like the scouting reports I was talking to you guys about earlier, they almost want more information. They want the font to be super, super small and like a paragraph, and I just have to explain, like, guys, you wouldn't even retain any of that when you walk up to the plate. Bring in a relief pitcher. You have 8 pitches to figure out what he throws, what it looks like, how hard it is, and what he does. Like you're not going to, in 8 pitches, you may get to the 3rd line if I wrote you a paragraph. And that's a lot of the players now, just because information is everywhere.
That's always been the push and pull with data versus scouting, which is, when you have so much information, how do you filter what you actually need for that one game situation that'll turn that game around?
Mm-hmm.
So that's always in it.
And it's good, like the data and the analytics and the numbers, and one of the assistant coaches and I have been diving into that even more. And it's kind of, we've just described as the numbers and everything, and analytics are the what. This is what we are as a team. This is what they are as a player. This is what he does well. This is what he does bad. And then it's kind of like from that and from video and everything, you figure out why they do that and then how to get it better or how to fix it. So you just kind of, and it's a fine line, I think, because you never want them to work to a number, because that never works. That's like, that's like us trying to hit. If you hit 330, you're going to make $1 million. And every game you go in there, I just need to do this to hit 330. I just need to do this to hit 330. That never works. That'll never work. In this game for sure. So and it's a fine line. It's kind of like pitch. Our pitching coach is really good at pitch design up here. They use Rapsodo more than they do down there. And when a guy wants to develop a pitch, first they have to get a feel of what they do. Like what their slider does. And if they don't know how to do that, then if they're not consistent with that, you can't really develop it. If that makes sense. So a lot of times you get with guys and you're like, well, we don't really know what it does yet. Let's solidify consistently what it does, and then we'll expand on that. And then hitting wise, a lot of our guys will think they do this, and then you show them on video, they don't get it, and you show them on numbers, and then you combine the two, and you're like, look, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is what you're doing. We need to do this. And a lot of times, the beautiful thing about it for me is all these guys have aspirations to be big leaguers, just like we all did. And there's a big league average to a lot of this data. And they look at you and they say, well, I've always done this, or this is comfortable. And then your rebuttal is, do you want to be a big leaguer? And they're saying, yeah. And I said, well, you're this far away from what the major league average is. And if you think you're the outlier, good luck. But there is a solution for you to get to where you need to get to. But it's all, Rami, you would love a lot of this stuff, because we're not, most baseball guys aren't like true analytic numbers guys, if that makes sense. Well, most field baseball guys, they use the numbers to kind of help with what their eyes see.
Because that's where I was kind of like listening to it, thinking like, look, I wonder how I would have fared with all this information. We kind of just had how you felt, what your results were, and then maybe some video. And even we're back then at UCLA, we really didn't tap into video, rarely. So I really wonder how I would fare if it would have been more of an information overload, or if how I would have responded to it. But I think now, I think now I would be super interested to see. I'd be a little bit more. I think I'd know how to receive it a little bit better now. Some of all that information. For sure, and it's hard. Even as a coach, you can go down the rabbit hole and you can hurt a player by giving them too much or looking for too many different things as opposed to one thing. Like video wise, what we look at a lot of times is with guys hitting, because they'll look at their video and they'll break down their swing, and like, I did this here and did that in slow-mo, and yeah, you see all that, but the first thing is, were you late or early to the pitch? And they're like, well, I was late. I said, well, if you're late, your swing's going to fall apart, so why would you examine anything else besides that? And then if they want to get mechanical, you look at the video a lot of times, and it's one of the things where if their setup or stance is in a non-athletic position, then they're not going to move athletically. Does that make sense? So a lot of times it's putting them in position so when they move, because they're all at this level and beyond, Rami, you've seen, they're all athletic. Even the worst guy on our team is probably the best high school player on his team. Right. Or even in his league, one of the top 5 in his league. And so you just kind of got it. You work from there and move forward. A lot of times, guys, because you know how it is swinging, Rami. If you're thinking about how your bottom hand's moving as you're swinging and trying to hit a ball, you're going to be beat every time. You're not going to have success. That's where I've kind of like teetered with this, and part of the information. It's like I was best when I would just say, and I think to me it was more important what my mentality was like in the box. And like sometimes I think, everybody obviously has, you keep going up in levels to meet that baseline for talent, and everybody kind of has this talent once you get up. You see it in the minor leagues, everybody's here. and it's always that mental thing that separates you and puts you to that next level. But for me, sometimes it was like, I don't really care. My mechanics might not be as good right now, but if I'm battling and I can win an at bat, and I think that's a little bit more of the old school, maybe the era that we kind of came up with coaching. So I think that there's a way to adapt, have that, but also use this stuff too. And but it's just funny because that's more of like the baseball purist part of me is like, just when at the end of the day, like none of this shit matters if you can't get in the box and have a mentality and beat the pitcher. You're competing against the pitcher.
And that's the number one thing, and that's a lot of, like what our assistant coach and I are talking about is we have a good feel of mechanically and data where we need to be, but it's how to enforce the mentality and the confrontation and the competitiveness, because without that, like, because we talked about last year's team and taking the savagism, we won every batting practice against every team we played. Like our batting practice was majestic. Like if you just went off batting practice, we would have kicked every team's ass. And it's not even just based on like the home runs we hit, but just like the line drives in the middle, like everything. It looked amazing. So, and then a game comes and we ended up being 5-11. So what is the problem there with that? Did it speed up for them? Certain guys competitive, certain guys. I mean, there's youth obviously that goes into that. Guys learning how to play the game at this level. We started one game, we had 7 freshmen starting in the lineup and a freshman on the mound. So,
that's crazy.
So it's like you take that into account, of course, but also you look at it as were we in between pitches when we were, and that's not competing the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did we let this guy get too comfortable for 3 innings? Did we really battle with 2 strikes? Did we try and drag here and there? Things like that. Just kind of you look at it and you just kind of view it in that sense, because that is the most important. And we that's one thing we're trying to approach this next year with these guys is, because unfortunately they didn't get, it would have been amazing for those young guys to get a full season of experience, and who knows what would have happened. Maybe we had 4 freshman All-American on our team by the end of the year, and it would have looking like, okay, we're all right. Or maybe guy that we didn't think was going to be anything turned out to be an absolute dude, and so going into this next year, we need to figure out how to get that learning curve a little faster in the fall and in the winter. And one thing is just how to promote that mentality, that confrontation, that competitiveness in practice.
That's the beautiful part about baseball.
Yeah. Especially if there's no summer ball. Especially like now we're crossing our fingers that guys are able to play summer ball just because they need to play,
Yeah, that's true. Because I feel like that when I came back off of 2 back-to-back surgeries, getting back into playing shape and even seeing pitches I hadn't seen pitches in like 8 or 9 months or something like that. Like, just that was like, I felt like it took me a long time to get back into just seeing pitches. And some of these guys are probably might be there if they miss out on summer, or who knows when they're gonna. You can definitely argue this with you'd be on my side is, but the more often you see live pitching, the easier it is, the more in shape you are. But when you go without that for a long time, it feels really weird stepping in the box and trying to track a ball again.
Yeah, it's just like it's like anything else. Guys talk about basketball shape, football shape. There's a difference in you going to a track and running and get ready for basketball and actually playing 5-on-5 basketball. There's a difference in a football player doing their drills than in a game playing 10 snaps in a row. And then baseball, you can put the machine up 95 miles an hour, but it's different than having a guy, even in a game, like even, live BPs, like, yeah, that's good, but it's not the same as that guy wants to get you out and you need to get a hit off of him. And you can only try and replicate that so much in practice as opposed to the real thing.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing, I guess, is everybody's on a level playing field. Like,
true.
Kind of started.
That is true. Which is huge.
It's just going to be a mass relearning of the game for everybody at the same time.
Except if it was you two and Gerrit, and who else did you have in that dorm? Nico. You guys could have practiced live pitching, hitting, and catching through this whole thing.
That's true.
And really kind of dominated. Been way ahead.
I don't know how good. I mean, Ramy was probably the only guy that could hit off Gerrit. Me and Nico are just fouled a million pitches off.
Only in the inner squads was the only time I ever got a hit off Gerrit. Every time before that, man, he owned me. Anytime I faced him.
You know what? I'm almost positive. I'm about 99% sure, and Gerrit, of course, will deny this. I'm almost positive he never struck me out, and he would always hate throwing to me because I would just foul everything
Pepper
off.
it.
And I didn't get a lot of hits off of him. I will admit that. I maybe had like 2 hits, but he used to always get so pissed because I would just battle and foul everything off, and his pitch count would go up, and he would have to roll it over even though he struck out everyone else and got everyone out, but his pitch count would go up. So that was one of my favorite things to do to him.
I would love to face him now because
oh god, no.
Because no. I just to see it because I mean he'll admit this. He was not as good back then as he is now. I mean now he's ridiculous, and I just would love to see that delta. You know.
Now he's unbelievable. Like that breaking ball he has now, he did not have that in college.
No. He didn't throw as hard. No,
it has way more life too. I don't know. It'd be fun to be in there. Even like, I wonder if catching him now would be easier than it would be back then. You know?
Was it tough? Who was toughest to catch of the guys that you had?
Bauer.
Bauer had the most movement, right?
He just chucked and ducked a lot of times, and when he wanted to strike, he would average breaking balls. I'd say 10 to 15 breaking balls in the dirt a game at least, and they were hard too. And he wouldn't it's not like he would bounce them right on home plate. Like he would throw like 55 footers, and knowing Coach, he wouldn't. If you missed it, he would get pissed. So. And you're looking over there like the ball bounced off his toe. He literally kicked it off his toe. That's how short it bounced, and I had to block it.
Yeah, dude. I gained a whole new level of respect for catchers when I was in the minor leagues and tried catching in the bullpen. I gained a whole new respect. I never thanked you for being our catcher for so many years. I didn't really ever appreciate you as much as I should have. So thank you, Stevie.
Nico says that now too. Like when he works with the catchers now, he'll shoot me a text. He goes, "Man, being a catcher is hard. Not even have to catch. I just have to coach him now." And he'll like, "I'm telling you, it's not fun." And I remember one time telling Nico too, because I was taking ground balls just for fun, and it was probably the first time I wore a glove in 10 years, like a real glove, not a catcher's glove. And after probably 15, I was gassed. I remember telling Nico, I said, I feel bad. Watching you guys in practice, I never thought this was like that hard. But you can really get in shape fielding ground balls.
Oh, yeah. Coach Purse worked me when we were at UCLA.
Yeah, he did. He loved doing that too. It was fun to watch.
I bet you got some entertainment out of that. One-on-one, man. All right, Stevie. Well, we've taken up enough of your time. Thanks for joining on.
Of course.
It was awesome.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
I miss you, and I hope that I miss seeing you in the Bruin dugout, but I'm happy you're a Cardinal.
I appreciate that. Brother.
Thank you.
You guys take care, all right?
Yeah, you too. Stay safe. Thanks to everybody who's listening. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Appreciate everyone. Thank you.
See you guys.
See ya.